Good afternoon. I'll call to order the September meeting of the Public Utilities Commission. The first item on our agenda is to review the minutes from the regular meeting from August.
Move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held August 28th, 2018.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? We have a motion and second to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held August 28, 2018. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is to receive the report from our Utilities Director, and before we do that, welcome
Thank you very much.
to our first meeting.
Thank you. First up, Mr. Anderson. He's our Employee of the Month for the Public Utilities Commission action. Thank you for joining us, sir. Appreciate your attendance and competence in being selected as the Employee of the Month. All right. For the department report, typical activities in electric distribution include one service repair for storm damage and several service installations. Electric production, of course, we're producing steam and accepting energy from others. Gas, typical number of locates in terms of the Gopher State locates, in addition to service installations. Water or district energy, again, number of Gopher State locates, and also steam activity. We check some meters at AMPI. Wastewater, we're meeting the required standards on a day-to-day basis. Engineering, we've reviewed plans for multiple different capital projects. And IT, we have a presentation tonight for a requested upgrade. Finance Department has compiled the draft budgets, and we have been reviewing them as a team, looking through the draft budgets and looking for updates. It appears we have a couple of updates still that we'll need to go through. Human resources activities, we have 3 open positions for IBEW in the line department. I believe those close tomorrow, so we have a candidate pool that we'll be reviewing. Safety, again, the primary function of everything that we do involves safety first and how we do it. Appreciate all of your attention to detail and being safe. I would like to note that we have 3 employees that have more than 30 years of service. Dwayne Wendler has 41 years of service. Dave Nydecker has 39 years of service. And Scott Osborne has 36 years of service. I'd like to just reach out for my part and give them a hand. I think that's terrific. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions of the director?
Just one question. So we did have an injury in the water steam department. Is that employee back at work now?
George?
We've had a couple of back injuries this last month. Just kind of routine things that are coming out of it. They had minimal restrictions and they have the treatments that they released.
Okay.
Restrictions.
Okay. So,
Thank you, George.
all right, thank you.
I'll make a motion to receive and order filed the report regarding utility operations during the month of September 2018.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion on that motion? On the motion seconded to review and order filed the report regarding utility operations during the month of September 2018, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Into new business, we have a report regarding the acid spill cleanup. Oh, not in new business.
Mr. Keene.
Good evening, Commissioners. On July 9th, we had a boiler operator going outside, making his rounds, checking a tower, and noticed solution coming up through the ground. In the morning, he notified us at 7 o'clock. We went and investigated and found that it was sulfuric acid coming up. We have a line going underneath there. So in the meantime then, we were checking on that. We called the Minnesota duty officer to let them know we had a spill, cover that. I notified Brown Intertech to oversee the cleanup spill for us. They arrived the following day on Tuesday. It was a rain day, so we didn't get anything done. We covered it and kept it intact. The following day we came in and we ended up using 300 pounds of soda ash to help neutralize the soil. We dug up a trench that was probably 3 feet deep, 6 feet wide, and about 16 feet long. We put it down in the old coal yard, covered it with plastic to keep it contained. Had to put a fence around so no one would get into it. And after 1 week, they came in and sampled it and came up to be neutral. So we were able to dispose of it. The MPSA wanted $5,000 to come down to get 8 yards qualified to be reused for soil. We contacted with the Brown County landfill. They took it 8 yards. We disposed of it at a cost of $180 instead. So, and then we got new fill and refilled, repaired the leak. It was a pinhole leak on a weld on the pipe is what it was. We estimated it was about 20 gallons of acid that was spilled into the area, not knowing for sure, but it's cleaned up and gone, and they filed a report with the state, so everything should be taken care of.
Thank you.
Move to receive and order filed the report regarding the acid spill cleanup that occurred on July 9th, 2018.
I'll second.
Any discussion on that motion? All right, we have a motion and second to receive and order filed the report regarding the acid spill cleanup that occurred on July 9, 2018. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now in new business, we need to consider amending our delegate list to MMUA for voting rights. Do you want to present that?
Yes. Overview, MMUA members issues meeting notices under Minnesota statutes 317A .431, 317A .435. Looking to amend the delegate list, appointing Utilities Director Rodney Marshall as the new Ulm PUC duly authorized representative to cast new Ulm PUC votes in all matters before the membership of MMUA. Appoints as an alternative representative include Assistant Director Chris Manderfeld and Utilities Engineer Daniel Perseg and City Manager Brian Gramitz.
So is there any change other than you, Rod?
No,
Okay, so it's just a 1-for-1?
yes.
Then I'll offer the motion to amend the list of delegates with voting rights for matters coming before the Minnesota Municipal Utilities Association MMUA membership.
I'll second.
Any discussion on that motion? The motion and second to amend the list of delegates with voting rights for matters coming before the MMUA. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And that motion carries.
Just as a reminder, again, please put the microphones within 6 to 8 inches when you talk. That way the people at home can hear your voice. Sometimes we have a habit of leaning back in our chairs, and now we're almost 2 feet away. So please.
Thank you. All right, so the next is a report regarding guy wires, right? Downtown
Yep.
Christmas light wires.
So the current holiday guy wires are tied to guy wires in the downtown electric system since the 1930s with limited improvements. What we're proposing is to replace the existing guy wires on their existing anchors after easements have been acquired from existing building owners with an insulator to limit the amount of electrical contact that's likely to occur with the building and the guy wire. So that would be for the holiday season of 2018. The expected budget is $5,000, including labor and materials.
The city is currently working with the property owners to get a one-year easement, just to get past the holiday season this year, and that they'll be looking at redoing the easements for a longer period of time, like 40 years or something like that for the next time period. So this is just a short stopgap measure to make sure that the cables are able to at least go one more year, if not longer.
Right. So I remember reading about the city council. Did they decide to continue with this design?
Yeah, basically.
Just need more time to get the easements.
We need more time just because the property owners have, they've seen the easement, I believe, once. Most of the property owners are willing to just say, we got to have the Christmas decorations up for this Christmas season. It looks like it's going to take too long to decide if we're going to do an alternative, Christmas decoration. And that for this year, we'd like to go ahead with this. And this would be subject to, getting the easements from the property owners for the 1 year, for the 2018 Christmas holiday season. So at this point, this gets us past the Christmas holiday season so that they can work on a more complete final project for next holiday season. There's just no time to order new decorations if that's the direction they wanted to go between now and November, when the decorations go up.
If we put these guy wires up this year and the city's in granted easements, do these guy wires have to come back down then? They can stay?
Yeah. Let me make sure I heard you. If we put them up and we just have the 1 year easement, if the city and the property owners don't come to terms on an extended easement, yeah, then they would come down. Because then the property owners are just saying, we'll put them up for 1 year, then after that we'll decide. It has a lot more to do with the budgeting for inspection of the buildings. It's a very large ticket item to have a structural engineer make sure that the building can withstand the wind and the weight and the loading of those cables and Christmas decorations. So we haven't been able to do that prior to this. So this is just a short-term measure. If they find out that all 22 buildings can't withstand the load, all these cables will come down then. So you really can out the labor part. Maybe you can reuse the cables in another location or another use. But in order to keep it going.
But at that point, you're probably still talking, what, $4,000 to take them down? This $5,000 to put them up, and then $4,000 to take them all down again. If
No, it wouldn't be $4,000 to take them down. They just disconnect them. It's probably half, if I remember right. If we got half materials and half labor, it would be another plus $2,000 to take them down. And that's more or less just time.
Yeah.
So Brian, it says in the overview that we want to give time for the New Ulm Chamber of Commerce to raise funds. Are we thinking of budgeting something for next year as well, Rod or Brian, as far as the redesigned, or are we going to put it
No, we're
all
not.
on the Chamber of Commerce?
No, we're not. Basically, the chamber is, I believe, had two projects. One, if they could fundraise to cover this cost, that would be great. But they're really looking at fundraising to cover $100,000 to actually do the structural engineering on 22 buildings. That's roughly $4,000 apiece, which is, if it's just your building, $4,000 doesn't sound like a lot. You think, yeah, just my building. But now you got 22 of those buildings. And that's where the cost of the whole project goes up really fast. So at this point in time, the chamber is really talking about, I think really trying to cover that $100,000 somehow.
Okay.
Or a large portion of it through fundraising,
Okay.
if
But that
possible.
$4,000 is just to inspect it, right? It's not to fix it, if it
Right.
needs fixing.
That's one of the key issues is once the inspector comes and said, well, it's not just tux pointing, it's your parapet is totally loose. Well, now the property owners got to actually fix their building before we can even put an anchor on it. So it's more complex than just saying, heck yeah, let's do it. And that's why the cost is there. So it's going to take at least, I would say, 6 to 9 months to figure out what needs to be done. So this really is just a stopgap measure, just to put the lights up 1 year in order to give them an opportunity to figure out which buildings are strong enough and fundraise and try and fund that inspection.
All right,
I might add just that there's the only time that we've actually had any issues is recently we had a fire, at the store and
Riverbend?
yeah, the office supply store.
Riverbend?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, Riverbend. And other than that, it's probably been 80 years of relatively no issues. But once you have a fire like that, then the question of liability comes in and who's going to pay for what. And then we, kind of analyzed it, and then that initiated the easements. And then if we're going to take the liability along with the easement, then we want to make sure that the building's strong enough. And as you can see, it's just kind of cascading into more and more costs as we go down this process. So this is just the beginning. But the PUC budget's $2,000 for the greenery of the Christmas decorations. And that's in your budget, for this year already.
For hanging them, you mean? For putting them up?
Yeah, the labor and the greenery.
Okay.
The street department laces the greenery onto the Christmas decorations. And then the PUC comes, or electric distribution comes and then hangs them and then plugs them in and gets them all ready so that when they do the parade, they hit the button and all the lights come on and go through the whole process. So it's the chamber pays money for the greenery, the PUC pays money, the PUC installs the Christmas decorations, and the city street department wires the greenery onto the decoration. So not just a PUC event, but it is probably the emphasis is on the PUC.
We're the ones that have to work on Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Yes. And by we, I don't mean we.
Yeah, we'll all be there.
Right.
They probably have access to more bucket trucks if you really want to.
I'll offer the motion to authorize the electric distribution department staff to replace the 8 existing guy wires and, if feasible, reinstall the 9th cable only after a 1-year easement has been signed by the property owners for the 2018 downtown holiday lighting display.
Second.
Any more discussion on that motion? On the motion and second to authorize electric distribution department staff to replace the 8 existing guy wires and, if feasible, reinstall the 9th cable only after 1-year easements have been signed by property owners for the 2018 downtown holiday lighting display. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have a report regarding the golf course 4.5 million gallon reservoir booster station.
This item is rebuilding the pumps and adding VFDs at the 4.5 million gallon reservoir booster station. Also, some people call it the golf course booster station. We were actually going to be budgeting for this project completely next year, but the reconstruction of Fifth North starting in June of next year, we'd like to get this project done before they that project is going to force us to take the 3 million gallon tank offline for up to 12 weeks. So with this project, we'll be modeling that tank being taken out of our system and our system being run from the 4 million gallon tank to feed both of the other 2 water towers. So we want to get the engineering done before the first year, and then the construction will be done, is in the budget for next year, to replace both the 2 pumps and 2 VFDs will be added to the pumps so they can operate throughout the total needs for the system during this construction time.
Dan, could you explain what a VFD is and what SCADA stands for?
VFD is the variable frequency drive, which is going to allow us to start the pumps very slowly, because one of the nuances of our system, if they run the pump too quickly, they'll overfill one water tower, and the airport water tower won't see any increased flow. We have to fill them very slowly to overcome the line losses. And the SCADA would be our monitoring system to give feedback to the plant and to the on-call operators to know everything is operating as it's supposed to be.
Thank you.
Any more questions I can help you with?
So, am I reading it right that it's $19,400 in engineering, but then only $11,000 in construction?
That's construction observation, and they'll be doing things like the as-built drawings and stuff like that. The buying of the pumps, VFDs, and all that, I think we have $120,000 in the
Okay.
budget for the actual
Okay,
construction.
thank you.
It's engineering observation.
Thank you for the clarification.
I'll make the motion authorizing the city manager to accept and sign the proposal for design, engineering, and construction services for the 4.5 million gallon reservoir booster station from Short Elliott Hendrickson Incorporated in the amount of $30,400.
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? You have a motion and second to authorize the city manager to accept and sign the proposal for design, engineering, and construction services for the 4.5 million gallon reservoir booster station from Short Elliott Hendrickson Incorporated in the amount of $30,400. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have a presentation regarding a quote for construction services for installation of a new raw water line.
This project is to replace the raw water line behind the community center on German Street. City engineering in their German Street reconstruction project replaced the water line underneath the street and in the right-of-way. And we have just gotten done rebuilding number 4 and number 6. This raw water line goes to number 4. During the startup, we have found that the raw water line between the well house and German Street is having a problem passing the bacteria test. So we need to rebuild that water line. And this water line is an ideal candidate for just directional boring it. There's no services to open up. It's a start and a stop. There'd be no reconstruction cost, and we probably wouldn't even damage the trees or anything. It'd be one patch right behind the well house and one patch right where we already have patched where we tied into the German Street project. And this was unbudgeted, but we didn't know this line wouldn't pass either.
Are we okay with only one quote? Or did we have multiple quotes?
I asked for them to quote it also as open cut, so we would know the price difference. They're so busy right now, they wouldn't even quote it. And M&R's, who's got all the local city contracts for the USA plans.
So are we okay to only have one quote, Brian? In this scenario for $30,000?
Well, anything under 25,000, you can buy over the counter. 25 to 175,
Yeah.
right? Technically requires 2 quotes, but you can't force people to give you one. So when you ask people to give you one and you only get 1 quote, that's probably as good as it's going to get.
Will they have to be 2 quotes from separate providers?
It'd probably be best to, yeah.
Okay, so has it been requested, I thought Dan said that he asked M&R to do a different.
M&R set us up with this one through their provider. We would be calling the exact same people to do the directional boring. It's the same people that electric uses all the time.
It's not 2 independent quotes, if that's the question.
Right. So there's no one else that does this work in
Not
Minnesota?
locally, we could probably try to find something, but part of the way I classify this, a little bit of an emergency repair, I'd like to have it done before it freeze up, and otherwise we'll be potentially mothballing a couple lines.
I guess that's, my only concern is that it's one quote.
Well,
So,
we're actually going through MR paving to do
Yep.
this?
I don't understand what you mean.
I'm just
Well-
thinking about the Rochester.
I guess, I guess what I'm thinking is that, you know, unforeseen things and change orders happen all the time. This question is, if MR was doing the road work, it really technically, you know, we have a problem with the line that they connected to. I don't know, be our city attorney question to them if that really could be resulting in a change order to the original contract as compared to having to go out and get second quotes kind of a thing.
So is this project potentially a change order versus a new project?
Right.
And if it's a change order, we wouldn't be required to have more than one.
Right,
quote.
we would just ask the general contractor to get it done, and then we'd work it through the change order process, through the street project.
And it is a result of the activity that was completed by them before in the street that we discovered that this did not pass the bacteria count. Is that correct, sir?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Our office can speak with Mr. Piercing. If we locate something we have a problem with, we will bring it to people's attention. I think I understand what some of the concerns that are being raised here are.
So if the commission approves this motion and the city attorney later finds that because of the regulation concerning the number of quotes, we have a problem, you'd bring it back to us?
I might,
Is
yeah,
that
we
what you're
could
suggesting?
request a special hearing or.
Special meeting?
A special meeting or, yeah.
Does that work?
Or you could authorize the project to go ahead, you know, allocate $35,000, and if the second quote comes in underneath that, we just get on with the show, so we don't have to, I mean, weather is the one that's pushing us on this one here.
Right.
Correct.
We've actually waited, 3 weeks, you know, to get permission from the PUC tonight. There was a concern about this expediting this to get it done, so we knew we didn't have to fight the weather. But, so there's probably two ways you could go. You can bring it back if we have more information, or you say, we have to do this, and if it's under X dollars, it's either gonna be this price or something lower,
Right.
you know?
I mean, from my standpoint, I'm comfortable with that authorization if we'll pursue whether it's a change order or whether we need a second. But we'll let Tom determine that.
So do you want to turn that into a motion that I can remember?
Yes. I will make a motion to authorize the construction services for the installation of a new raw water line from the number 4 well house to the German Street from a quote to be no more than $35,000, and authorize the city manager to sign the proposal upon receipt of that quote.
I suppose before we talk about it, I should get a second, find out if there's going to be a second.
I'll second.
Okay, so my question on that is, what do we do? I thought the problem was the possibility that we can't get a second quote, and time is of the essence. Or do we think that that won't be a problem?
How about if I try to make a few calls over the next week, give myself a week, and then if we can't get a second quote, talk to Mr. City Attorney over here.
Okay.
That'd be fine, I think.
So you guys can work with that motion, one way or the other. Okay.
Okay.
Any more discussion of the motion?
Want me to reword it?
No, I think, well,
Can you remember what you said?
No.
here's what I think you said. On the motion, we have a motion and second to authorize construction of services for the installation of a new raw water line from the number 4 well house to German Street in the amount, pursuant to a quote no greater than $35,000, and the city manager is authorized to sign the proposal. Is that what everybody understood? Okay, all in
Mhm.
favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Let's see, next item is to consider purchase of exchange licenses, Exchange 2016 licenses by Mr. Barron.
Good afternoon, President Heine and Commissioners. The Exchange server is our email server, and this request is to purchase the licensing and labor to upgrade to the newest version of that email server. And the work that would be performed would be to install a new email server and migrate the data from the old server to the new server, and then decommission the old server. That's it.
So this was a budgeted item.
Yes, it is, yes. Yeah, and in fact, it's actually came in a lot cheaper than anticipated, actually, so I was pretty pleased with that.
What was the original budget?
It was originally budgeted for $20,000, and that was just for the licensing that was budgeted for. And this, the quotes came in with labor and licensing well under that.
Good, I'll move to purchase Exchange 2016 licenses and labor from Computer Technology Solutions Incorporated in the amount of $18,200.
I'll second.
Any discussion? On the motion and second to purchase Exchange 2016 licenses and labor from CTS in the amount of $18,200. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Let's see, next we have, we're being asked to consider releasing PUC operational control use of the 12th North Water Street treatment property. Is that going to be you, Brian?
Yes, members of the Utility Commission, the city had been contacted by an adjacent property owner by the 12th North Water Treatment Facility, and they had asked if the city would be interested in treating some undeveloped nature land close by, on the Minnesota River, for this particular building. And the issue of who actually owns it and who makes that decision was then raised. And in talking with the city attorney's office, because the PUC operationally uses it for some storage of a few materials and, a gravel pile and things of that nature, so that it doesn't get wet, which is a whole different story, that the PUC should decide whether or not they want to continue using that particular building for the purposes that they're using it for, or if they want to release their operational control. And as I think we all are aware, that the ownership of everything is in the name of the city of New Ulm, and there's really no ownership of PUC, but they do have operational control of their facilities, the wastewater treatment plant or the electric production, facility. So if the PUC sees no use of that particular building, then they could make the motion to release operational control, and then the city would then decide whether or not it wants to trade property or sell it or do whatever it wants with it. Having recently been in the building, the roof is in need of repair. There's water laying all over the place. It's kind of got a mold and mildew kind of growing everywhere. For what we're using it for, which is very minimal, I think there's a couple of pieces of equipment and a few supplies or some pipe in there, but I don't know if the water superintendent is here, if he has any places where he could store those things elsewhere that doesn't need that space, and I guess I would always feel bad about sending an employee in there, having been in there now. It's not a pleasant place to be, so,
We try not to store very much stuff.
yeah. So in essence,
Gravel pile.
yeah, the PUC
You're
is
not
not
using
using it, and it's really becoming an issue that I think we even talked about tearing it down. That's, we don't see a need for it, but if somebody else is willing to take ownership of that, the only concerns that I have would be that we make sure that we disconnect the water lines that are underneath the building, and, if we have to reroute a pipe or something, that gets done, so that we don't have to worry about digging underneath the building in case something goes bad. But I'm seeing no use for the building. The PUC had planned on potentially even removing the building, so at this point in time, if you are open to that, then that would then leave the city council to decide what they want to do with it in the end.
So how about we would not lose the access road to those two wells?
No, we would retain easements for the pipe that's in the ground that's in that particular area, and also access to the wells, yeah. We basically is allowing the property to be sold, but maintaining easements for access and the pipes.
Is this building kind of between the bike path and the river?
Correct.
Okay, kind of big
It's
white
big,
structure.
kind of a white structure, yeah. It's got, like, if you look at the roof line, there's probably like 6 different roof heights on that thing. It's really not a very functional, building. If we said, well, we're gonna move our offices there, it really is not a functional building. The roof is leaking bad, and that being said, you have the decision to either release or not release.
I will move to release the PUC operational control / use of the 12th North X water treatment property to the city of New Ulm for potential disposition.
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion?
I have a utilities map that shows some of the utilities that are theoretically located underneath the building that would have to be relocated. In addition to that, it shows the gas lines, the power lines, and then the power out to the individual wells that follow the access road as well. So if that's of interest to folks here, more than happy to put this up. Is it over there that it would go up, or?
Yeah, I'd go up over there. if we-
Okay.
Nate, do you want to help fire up that display?
Thank you. So on the map, blue is water. Makes sense to have the water lines under the building. It was the, sorry. On the map, blue is water, goes underneath the building. Yellow, that's more difficult to see, is gas. Red is power. And there's a force main sewer that comes to the front of the building as well. Just information in terms of support of the decision.
Do we have any knowledge of what the person wants to do? Do they want to put a building there, or?
No, I think they would probably attempt to utilize the building,
Utilize the
for
existing?
a shop or something. There's a tremendous amount of electrical service to that particular building. It was used as a, tool and die operation for a long period of time before the company left use of that particular building. So from an industrial standpoint, it's really decked out rather nicely for power. But I've not been told what they would like to do with it, And we're talking I don't remember, 20-plus acres there to the north of the facility, you know, from the river to the, what would that be? Is that Water Street? You know, so from Water Street all the way to the river, all the way to the concrete plant. You know, most of that is the land that would be considered for trade. It's lowlands, but yet every opportunity that the city has had to acquire nature land on the river, we've tried to do that, just to protect that for people's use of our rivers and access to the river and stuff like that.
Okay.
So if the building serves no useful purpose to us, and it really serves no useful purpose to the city, but yet all that land could be used by the public, whether if they fish or boat or nature watch or just look at birds, you know, that would be the trade-off for us.
Do you have any concerns, Rod, with regard to the utilities that are in the building?
All of those lines can be relocated.
Okay.
The challenge with leaving them in place, of course, is that there'd be a building occupied by others that had essentially direct access to the water system, the raw water lines, which we prefer not to occur. So we'd like to relocate the lines out and make sure that we have adequate easements for the remaining lines and access to the wells.
Yep. Yeah, we would protect our interest in the property.
Any more discussion on the motion? On the motion and second to release PUC operational control and use of the 12th North X Water Treatment Property to the City of New Ulm for potential disposition, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The last item on the agenda is to consider our list of claims.
I'll offer the motion to accept the list of claims paid in the amount of $2,426,130.64 and approve the list of claims to be paid in the amount of $357,020.07.
I'll second.
Any discussion? On the motion and second to accept the list of claims paid in the amount of $2,426,130.64 and to approve the list of claims to be paid in the amount of $357,020.07. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And unless we have any other comments, we are adjourned.
Concerning the finance guide, I